Good afternoon. Good afternoon to our European participants and good morning to our participants from Latin America. I would like to welcome you to the session Partnership for Innovation EU-Latin America within the frame of the Global Innovation Summit 2021. My name is Ralf König and I'm working with FFG, the Austrian Research and Promotion Agency, in the Division of European and International Programs. FFG is the national funding agency for industrial research and development in Austria. FFG is wholly owned by the Republic of Austria, represented by 2 Austrian ministries. I will be the moderator of this session. This session is organized by the EU Horizon 2020 funded project ENRICH and EUREKA, European Network of Research and Innovation Centers and Hubs in Latin America and the Caribbean. This session aims to identify research and innovation collaboration between Latin American and Caribbean countries and Europe in the areas of green and digital transition, as well as to deliver post-COVID-19 estimations and recommendations for more impactful cooperations between Europe and Latin America. Today, we have distinguished guests from Austria, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Germany, and Uruguay. We have our guest from Germany, Mr. Roland Orth, Head of Department at Fraunhofer Institute for Production Systems and Design Technology, and he is the representative of the EU project ENRICH and EUREKA. We have a guest from Brazil, Mr. Alexandre Barragat. He is Head of International Cooperation at FINEP, the Brazilian Innovation and Research Agency. Mr. Juan Pablo Garnica, Investment Promotion Officer at Invest in Chile, the government agency responsible for promoting Chile as a destination for foreign direct investment. I also welcome Mr. Antonio Julio Copet Villa. He's the Director of SDI Capabilities and Outreach at the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation of Colombia. I also welcome Mr. Flavio Caiafa, President of the Uruguayan National Agency of Research and Innovation. We will have a guest from Austria, Marco Garcia. He will join us later. He is the Commercial Counselor at Advantage Austria, which is the international agency for Austrian companies at the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber. And then we have 3 representatives of the EU Horizon 2020 project Innovate, Mr. Carlos Garcia Delgado, Ms. Marta Macias Aragones, and Mr. Jose Diaz Gandul. And they will tell us something about the Innovate projects. I invite our guests from Latin America and Europe that they focus their presentation on the overall objectives of this session, which will be later presented by my colleague Bernhard Windischbauer. Please pay attention to the time available. Each presenter has 8 minutes for her presentation, and then we have about 3 minutes for questions afterwards. By turning on our cameras, meaning my camera or the camera of Ms. Windischbauer, we signal to you that you should come to an end with your presentation. I wish all participants an interesting event, insightful presentations, and if possible, the start of many new collaborations in the area of science, technology, and innovation between Latin America and Europe. I now hand over to my colleague, Ms. Windischbauer, also from FFG. She is the organizer of this workshop. Many, many thanks to her for all her efforts and the work she has done in the last month. And she is the project manager in charge of the ENRICH and EUREKA project at FFG, and an expert for international SDI cooperation. Ms. Windischbauer and I will guide you through this session. Berna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ralf. Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning to our speakers and participants from Latin America. On behalf of ENRICH and EUREKA project, I would like to welcome you to our session. We have 9 speakers today, as you're already introduced to Ralf. We have 4 speakers from Latin America, namely from Colombia, Chile, Brazil, and Uruguay, and 4 speakers from Spain and Germany, and 1 Austrian speaker, but located in Latin America, so we try to keep the balance here. So this is our agenda for the next 1 hour and 15 to 30 minutes. We'll see. Our speakers represent various stakeholders, as you can see, of the research and innovation sector, funding and investment agencies, a ministry, research and technology companies, as well as Chamber of Commerce. As you see, we have a quite tight schedule, but before I give the floor to the first speaker, I'd like to touch upon the technical issues very briefly. You are muted by default to avoid background noises. Use chat function, please, if you need a technical support. Raising hand function will not be used as we cannot take oral questions due to time constraints. And please use Q&A function if you want to write question to speakers. Without any further delay, I would like to thank you again for joining us today, and the floor is yours, Ronald.
So thanks a lot, Berna. Thanks a lot, Ralph. Welcome to the first introduction on ENRICH and LAC. It's a pleasure for me to present the project in the beginning with a brief introduction, hopefully to foster some interesting discussion. I also have prepared some slides. I hope you can see it.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. And yes, so my name is Ronald Orr. I'm from Fraunhofer IPK. This is one of the 80 research institutes of Fraunhofer Gesellschaft, and we are located in Berlin. And as Berna and Ralph has already mentioned, that we are the coordinator of the ENRICH and LAC project. And I will give you a brief overview. So as already mentioned by Ralph, ENRICH and LAC is a project funded by the European Commission. We started early this year in January, and it's a project with a duration of 3 years. And the objectives are to facilitate the partnership in science, technology, innovation, and business between European actors and actors from Latin America and the Caribbean area. So therefore, we are providing some services. I have a portfolio containing matchmaking and networking, information brokerage, market intelligence, or also training and capacity building. And the goal of this project is to develop something that will also be available after the project will be finished. So we want to develop a association or center which will be sustainable also in financial terms after the project will be finished. The good news, it's an ambitious challenge, but the good news are that we are not have to start on scratch. So we can rely or build on activities that have been conducted 4 years ago or during the last 4 years. There was a project that was also dedicated for this partnerships between Europe and in the first step was Brazil. And now, based on these activities and results we have from this project ENRICH in Brazil, now it's the idea to expand this cooperation to further Latin American and Caribbean countries. And in the first step, we will have more closer cooperation with Argentina, Chile, Colombia, and Uruguay. And I think today it's very good that we have presentation from Chile, Colombia, and Uruguay here in the session. So hopefully we can define or identify some good potential or points for collaboration. And further idea is also with our project to have some kind of midterm evaluation in order to identify further cooperation potentials with further LAC countries. That means that at least we also want to bring further partners from at least one partner from Central America and one partner from the Caribbean area into this network. So sometimes on the first moment, it's perhaps a little bit confusing when you hear ENRICH and LAC, because we have a ENRICH and LAC project already indicated, and we have the ENRICH and LAC association. So what you can see here is the both perspectives. So in the top, we see the project partners, and it's usual with projects. There's a limited number of partners. Here we can see Fraunhofer, FFG, our host today, DLR, ANPE, RCISD, and SPI from Portugal. These are the project partners, but our activities are not limited to these project partners. If I've already introduced earlier, the idea is to develop something that will be sustainable and long-lasting. And this was the reason that we have founded 1.5 years ago the ENRICH and EUREKA Association. That's a non-profit association under Brazilian law. And partners or members of this association, so it's not limited, this partnership. So we have organizations from research and science, public bodies, consultancy companies. Also regarding the size, there are no limitations. The one and only requirement is that all the partners are dedicated to our mission to have better partnerships or in science, technology, and innovation between Europe and the Latin American region. And most of the project partners here are also members of the ENRICH Association, where we have so far more than 30 members in our network here. What we are providing, these are some services in terms of knowledge sharing, so providing market studies or sector information, community building, networking. Here we provide innovation challenges or matchmaking activities on the platform, outreach branch, all these things to bring the communities from both sides of the Atlantic closer together. As well, training and capacity building, also one important cornerstone of our activities, on the one hand for the business, but also for the research to market community. And we are not doing all these things alone, because a lot of very good partners and activities have already been launched and are in place between Europe and Latin America. So we have a very strong and very good cooperation with partners like EUREKA, Latin America, IPR, SME Help Desk, Eurochambers. Innovite was also is also one of our partners already mentioned here in the session. We'll present later on these activities. So ENRICH can really use activities and partnerships from different areas. So we learned from the past that it makes sense, because the area is very broad, to dedicate our activities in specific priority areas. And in the beginning of the project, we identified some areas of mutual interest from the European, but also from the Latin American perspective. And all the services I presented before will be especially tailored to the areas of health, digital transformation, bioeconomy, renewable energy, and sustainable urbanization. So that's my last slide. Keep in touch. So I hope it was a brief introduction. We provide a lot of information, material, or resources. We have a matchmaking platform. We have a newsletter, a big online offer with podcasts, webinars, a YouTube channel. So hopefully you are interested in and join our network as a member or as a cooperation partner. And therefore I will come to an end. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Ronald. We will come back maybe to your presentation and the services which ENRICH and EUREKA could provide at the end of this workshop, if we have some remaining time. Of course, it's okay for you, Ronald?
Of course.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we'll continue according to our agenda with a presentation from Brazil, Mr. Barragat from FINEP, Head of International Cooperation. Please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody that is watching us today. I will try to share my screen and start my presentation as soon as possible. I am representing FINEP today. Just a brief presentation. FINEP is the Brazilian Agency for Science, for Research and Technology Development and Innovation. We have been created in 1967, so we are a little bit more than 50 years old agency. And we try to support the whole chain of innovation, from the infrastructure needed, mostly the heavy infrastructure, up to the passing by research, and mostly the cooperation among universities and companies. And we could go all the way to supporting the launching of innovative product in the market with, let's say, pilot plants and all the demonstrators and things like that, in order to be able, to the companies to be able to enter the markets. That's what I just said. This slide shows it in a different perspective. It breaks the support of FINEP in its main instruments. We can give grants, we can have investments and funds and equity, and we can give concessional loans to the companies. This is a slide that shows our the way we work. It's very important, the local partners, because we are in a continental country that is if you put the Brazil map above the map of Europe, you see that it's really a big country, and so that we rely a lot in local partners that are mainly the state partners, both from the scientific perspective to us, but also Brazilian states and regional banks that are also government owned, but the government of the states. This is an independent study that I'd like to share with you. It took a period from that's about 10 years and evaluated the 1,600 companies. Half of it had support, were supported by FINEP using the loans mechanism, and the other half were similar companies that did not have the same support. And we can see that for each real, it has we have been able to leverage other 6.5 mostly. So it's a very good that we could have that result shown by let's say an independent corp, that is the Brazilian Institute of Applied Economic Research. We have been engaged in international cooperation not for a long time. I would say that the last 10 years were also the years that we improved our cooperation, both bilateral, but more important, the multilateral cooperation. And here I have to say that EUREKA was a very good and productive way to learn how to work in networks like that and multilateral cooperation. We hope we will be able to increase that cooperation in the next years, and I'm going to show that's not just hope, that we have solid reasons to believe that we will be able to do so. So that's why we cooperate with other companies, other institutions that have a similar mission as FINEP does to support research and innovation. And the idea is that we can not only jointly support science, technology, innovation projects, but do all the things that we need to do before to exchange best practices and build capabilities and things like that in order to be successful. That shows let's say, the total of our cooperation in the last years, both bilateral and multilateral initiatives. With I'm giving in the bottom of the slide specifically the results from Global Start 2018. It was, we believe, a good first result, but also we have a lot, we learned a lot, and believe that we will be able to do much better next time. And this is the main new thing that I would like to share with you. That was a really big gesture of confidence in both FINEP and the whole national system for science and technology, that That was the slide that I'm showing to you show the status of the National Fund for Scientific and Technological Development, FNDCT in Portuguese, that is FINEP's main fund to support its activities. Up to last year, it had the same let's say status and the same hierarchy of any ordinary law, and the annual budget is also an ordinary law. So that's the situation that we have now. It's FNDCT is let's say received an amendment and it became a fund that is specified, let's say like that, in the Brazilian legal system by a complementary law. What that means is that no ordinary law can let's say touch it, so the annual budget that is also an ordinary law also cannot. So we will be able for the first time, let's say in our history, to access 100% of the annual budget of the fund. That will mean we will be able to operate 5 to 7 times more than we operate today. It's a big difference, and that was the main thing that brought here to show to you, to the companies, and to our international partners. And well, that was it, and I thank you very much for the time you gave us.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to ask you a question regarding green digital transformation in Brazil. What is the common ground and the particular potential to leverage cooperation and joint research and innovation activities between Europe and Brazil?
Well, I would say that many things on urban and metropolitan area interventions would be welcome. We have some interesting projects that we are done right now, and a few of them are already in that field. Energy is also an important ground for cooperation. Brazil is one of the cleanest countries in regard of its energy, both for transportation, because we have well, every single gas station in Brazil, from north to south, has at least one ethanol pump, 100% ethanol. More than 9% of our passenger cars are dual fuel. They could use any mixture of ethanol and gasoline. Our regular gasoline is already 25% ethanol, so we are really looking forward to cooperation in biofuels as well. And for digital cooperation, we have several companies that are working on that in different levels, and they could cooperate as well. So I would say that those areas are very the priority of FINEP, are among the most important priorities that the FINEP has.
Yeah, thank you. May I ask you a second question? FINEP has experience with European funding networks, or what we call partnerships. Based on your experience, what are the most challenging aspects of more multilateral cooperation between Europe and Latin America in your point of view?
Well, up until now, I would say that we have two things that were important. The first thing was the learning curve on how to support jointly a project innovative project that are of interest of both parties. That's something that I think that's something that we are still learning, and we are doing better and better. But that's I would say that it's not as easy as it's shown. It's not specifically a problem with the European Union, but I would say that that was the most important thing. And the other thing was that up until now we had not have a way to really forecast what would be our budget for next year. That's something that that was really hard, but it was a reality that we had to deal with. And I thank our European partners for the patience that they have shown to us with regard of that. But that's something that I believe it's going to be corrected by the new status of the FNDCT law. So those are the most important difficulties that we found.
Thank you very much. We may come back to you with more questions after we will have finished with all the presentation. Thank you very much. We will now continue with a presentation from Colombia. Mr. Antonio Julio Copet-Villa, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I'm sorry if not. He's the Director of SDI Capabilities and Outreach at the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation of Colombia. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Vielen Dank. Guten Tag from Colombian. My name is Antonio Copete. I'm the Director of SDI Capabilities and Outreach here at the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation of Colombia. And I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully that will work well. One moment. So again, I'm here on behalf of the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation of Colombia. We're actually a brand new ministry. We've only been in operation for only about a year and a half right now. So we have a lot of news to share, and we have a lot of things going on. And of course, in this current context, there's been a lot of challenges, but we're also very proud of the work that we've done. These are the points that I wanted to share with you today in this presentation. So we wanted to first give a little bit of context about our ministry, which we call in Colombia MinCiencias, a couple of our most important initiatives as a government and as a country on science diplomacy and bioeconomy. And finally, I'm going to end mentioning a few of the joint initiatives between Colombia and the European Union that you might all be interested in. So first, talking about the context of our ministry, MinCiencias. We have a mission statement. One second. Yes, which, as you can, one moment, please. As you can see, we formulate and coordinate public policy for the generation of knowledge, innovation, public engagement, thus enhancing regional and capabilities in STI. In the year 2019, we as a country ran a very interesting experiment where our Colombian government called for this so-called International Commission of Experts, which was a commission of about 47 experts in many different fields in order to chart a roadmap for the entire science, technology, and innovation sector of Colombia for the next 25 years. Actually, our Minister Mabel Torres, who is just in the middle of that picture, I myself, I'm an astrophysicist. We were part of that commission, and now we were invited to become part of the ministry once it was launched in December of 2019. This commission of experts, it proposed to address, the main issues of the country when it comes to science, technology, and innovation through these so-called 3 challenges and 5 so-called emblematic missions. This is the way this commission of experts was organized. It was divided into 8 different areas, from convergent technologies and industries 4.0, biotechnology, oceans, health and life sciences. I was part of the group on basic and space sciences as an astrophysicist. And again, it was a very enriching work, which again took a whole year throughout 2019. These are the 3 challenges and 5 missions that this commission proposed. The main 3 challenges are on biodiversity and on productivity and sustainability, and the third is on equity with this associated emblematic missions. I'm not going to delve too much into them just because of the lack of time. And now we come to the year 2020, when the first full year of operation of the ministry, and in our area, in this directorate that I'm in charge of, we have in one of the areas that we are in charge of is the area of internationalization. We have several a main objective and several prioritized areas. Our main objective is to establish Colombia's cooperation in STI as a model for its contribution towards tackling global challenges. And we have about 3 prioritized areas that we can mention right now. First of all, is when it comes to following the recommendations of this International Commission of Experts on the area of international cooperation in STI. I can also mention the area of public policy of internationalization and the science diplomacy strategy. And then I can also mention the international cooperation for regional capacity building in STI. This interplay between regionalization and internationalization is one of the main priorities of our ministry. Now, coming to the second part of the presentation, we wanted to talk about one of our main priorities and strategies as a country when it comes to science diplomacy. He actually, in this picture, this is a meeting that we had at the beginning of last year when everything was normal, with all the ambassadors from the European Union that were accredited in Colombia, with the Minister Mavo and other directorates of our ministry. We have identified several key challenges that we wanted to address through this science diplomacy strategy in the country. Some of the ones that we can mention are, first of all, this enhanced participation in South-South cooperation strategies and activities. Some of you might know that Colombia is actually the newest member of the OECD. And as such, we are in this process of becoming a country that's progressively shifting from being a main receiver of international cooperation as to also being a country that can offer international cooperation in STI specifically, and especially when it comes to other countries in the global south. We can also talk about the importance of increased engagement between Ciencias, our ministry, and diplomatic missions abroad, the promotion of STI regionalization in border areas through these activities of science for diplomacy, the coordination between the scientific diaspora and the academic community in international networks, the positioning of the STI in the international cooperation agenda of other sectors of the country, and no less important, the training and capacity building in science diplomacy, as this is a new era for the country. Part of our the way we materialize this strategy in the country is through this strategy called science diplomacy nodes, which are these geographic areas in the jurisdiction of Colombian diplomatic missions or border areas in which academia, business, government, and society interact through science, technology, and innovation activities for these objectives: building STI cooperation networks, strengthening STI capabilities, promoting better relationships with other countries, and inform public policy decision-making. We have, for this period of 2020 to 2022, the end of the current Colombian government, where we have the goal of creating 3 of these science diplomacy nodes in different areas of the world, of course, including Europe and very important countries in the European Union, such as Germany, France, Switzerland, as well as other countries throughout the world. Now, the third area that we wanted to talk about is on our priority on bioeconomy. So bioeconomy, as you saw, is one of the 3 main challenges that was set forth by this International Commission of Experts in 2019. And the reason is kind of obvious, because Colombia is a country that has incredible potential when it comes to biodiversity and bioeconomy. We are, for example, the first country in the world in diversity of birds and orchids, the second in the world in plants, amphibians, butterflies, freshwater fish, and other records like that, which of course we want to capitalize on responsibly and sustainably as a country. We have set forth a great challenge, which we call Productive, Biodiverse, and Equitable Colombia, a mission called on bioeconomy, which seeks to generate 10% of GDP by productive change as associated sectors when it comes to bioeconomy. And this strategy is executed through these 5 strategic areas, which you can see in this slide, and I'm not going to have time to mention. I just want to end briefly by mentioning some of the joint Colombia-EU initiatives. First of all, I can mention the ZERA program with this initiative of smart innovation research in agriculture is a project that we formulated last year, and we are receiving cooperation funding through the EU. And these are some of the details that I don't have enough time to share with you, but it's an important initiative that we're working on with our partners in the European Union. I can also mention this InnovAL Latin America platform too, for decentralized innovation in CELAC, Latin American countries. And I can also finally mention this initiative on EU, Latin America, and the Caribbean partnership in research infrastructures, which has these main objectives that I can elaborate on in our Q&A section. So this is what I wanted to share with you right now. Thank you very much. And I look forward to the interaction throughout the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your impressive presentation. I'm happy that you mentioned science diplomacy, and Europe is lagging a little bit behind compared to other countries in the world who puts a strong focus on science diplomacy. I have one or two questions to you. Compared to cooperation with other major SDI countries like China or the United States, what is, from your perspective, the unique value or the added value for Latin American countries in general, and for your country in particular, cooperating, working with Europe?
Well, Europe has been a very strong partner for Colombia. I can certainly speak for the country, but for Latin America as a whole. Some of our strongest joint initiatives from Inciencias historically have been with European countries. Countries like Germany, France. We have had very strong partnerships in the past. There's been a lot of mobility. A lot of Colombians have had their doctoral research training in European countries, and so they have strong relationships with the continent. With the European embassies in Colombia, have science attachés and other people who work in these common issues. So I can say for sure that the strongest and most dynamic work that we do internationally in the areas of science, technology, and innovation as a whole are with Europe. So that's a huge competitive advantage compared with other countries with which the cooperation is not as strong as it has been historically with the EU.
Yes, thank you. We still have 1 or 2 minutes. Another question to you. Are there any multilateral or global initiatives where you would like to see an intensified and closer cooperation of the EU or its member states with the Latin American countries? I'm not just thinking about the new partnerships in Horizon Europe, but initiatives like Belmont Forum was like that.
Yes, absolutely. I think, well, one of the ones that I mentioned, this initiative, this ZERA program that we have, actually actively working with the EU this year is a good example of that. For sure, as a country, one of the challenges that were proposed by this International Commission of Experts from 2019, the first prioritized area has been on bioeconomy and sustainability. So that's definitely an area of common interest, I would believe. So again, what we're doing with the ZERA is just an example of what we can further work with the EU, and we definitely would invite you to be working with us as well, because the interest is definitely mutual.
Yeah. Once again, thank you. We may come back to you with more questions if you still have some time at the end of all the presentation. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's very early in the morning here, so no problem.
Thank you. We now move on to Chile. A presentation by Invest in Chile by Juan Pablo Garnica, Investment Promotion Officer. Please, the floor is yours.
Good morning to everybody, to all the speakers in Latin America, and good afternoon to Berna, to Ralph, and to all the attendees there in Europe. It is a real pleasure to join you in this Global Innovation Summit. And I will talk to you about why Chile today is considered a green energy powerhouse and a digital hub in Latin America, and to see some potential areas of collaboration between our countries. So let me start with a little bit of our history on energy in Chile. Let me say that, well, 20 years ago, Chile was considered a poor country in terms of energy resources, with a small reserves of petroleum, with a shortage of natural gas, while hydroelectric and coal-based energy generation were dominating the market. Electricity was very, very expensive, with few players in the market. But in the last 10 years, Chile has transitioned to renewable green energies, not the energies of the future, or energies that are abundant, in fact, in Chile. So in terms of solar energy, the north of Chile is where the driest desert on the planet is located. This area has the highest solar radiation in the world. In fact, 75% of the total solar energy capacity of Latin America is installed in Chile. Chile has a solar energy potential of 1,800 gigawatts. Now, in terms of eolic energy, we can find good winds for eolic energy generation in several regions from north to the south of Chile. The total eolic installed capacity in Chile is 1,300 megawatts. Today, green energies represent 20% of our total energetic matrix. And by 2030, they will represent 70%. Chile set a firm compromise with sustainable development goals and has an aggressive plan towards the decarbonization of our energetic matrix, which includes the complete decommissioning of 28 coal power plants by 2040. Additionally, green hydrogen is becoming a key enabler for the decarbonization of various industries, including transportation and mining. And in this context, Chile has unique assets, its resources, and competitive production of renewable energy. So right now, Chile is fostering international collaboration in green hydrogen technology with countries that are at the forefront of the design of methods for energy transition. Now, on the digital development field, first, there is no doubt that COVID-19 has accelerated one key trend worldwide, that is digitalization. Nowadays, digital capabilities are vital to ensure a country's growth and a country's economic resilience. And Chile has been shifting towards a digital economy since 2004, when we wrote our first national digital agenda. Today, Chile is considered the country with the most advanced digital development in the region, with high rates of development in three key areas. First, in digital infrastructure, Chile has top-of-the-line international connectivity through our 4 submarine fiber optic cables. One key project that is backed by the government is a 5th fiber optic cable that we name it Humboldt, the transoceanic submarine cable, the first of its kind that will connect South America with Asia Pacific, from Chile to New Zealand and Australia in the first stage. This deployment is expected to start this year. Also, this 2021, Chile will see the deployment of the 5G technology after a successful bidding process conducted last year. Well, you can see here the map of Chile. is a very, very large, very long and very narrow country with a coastline that covers 6,000 kilometers or 4,000 miles. So in this case, the national investments in digital connectivity have been huge. And we have been pursuing these investments in recent years. Nowadays, the north, central, and south of Chile have a good access to internet. The second key aspect for the digital development in Chile is the data centers. Attracted by green energies and the solid telecommunications and digital infrastructure in Chile, right now our country is considered a hub for data centers in the region. Major players in the industry, from Google, Microsoft, Huawei, Digital Realty, and so, all have their regional data centers installed in Chile. The third key aspect is the digital ecosystem. Currently, more than 60 global companies have chosen Chile for their operations. Some key reasons why of this election is, well, besides the essential attributes of Chile, which include its successful economic development, a stable democracy in the last 30 years, as well as its high levels of international competitiveness, our country offers a mature platform for providing complex value-added IT and digital services. So in the digital field, Chile recently wrote its first national policy on artificial intelligence, written also by our brandly new Ministry of Science and Technology, has also 2 years of operations in Chile. And right now we're looking to expand our ecosystem in this area of artificial intelligence with the aim to become a regional center of excellence on artificial intelligence. Several scientific and technological parks are eager to attract and support IT-related companies to develop its AI and digital solutions in Chile for the world. Thank you, Bernard. Just in time for my last slide, just to tell you a little bit about Invest Chile. So Invest Chile is a government agency. We are the investment promotion agency dedicated to attract foreign investment into Chile and supporting foreign investors to have successful soft landing in our country. Every year, we support more than 700 companies by providing free of charge strategic consultancy services. Invest Chile is the access door to every foreign entity interested in operating in Chile. We can connect with different organizations on the public sector, the private sector, and the academia. And we will be delighted to support companies from the ENRICH and EUREKA networks interested in their internationalization and expanding operations to Chile and to Latin America. Thank you very much, and please go ahead with the Q&A.
Thank you very much. You mentioned digital innovation hubs in some way. Yesterday, I guess most of you will not know, the European Commission published their new internationalization strategy. The digital for development hubs are mentioned. And according to this communication of the European Commission, these D4D hubs will also have regional branches in Latin America. So this might fit to your digital activities in Chile, just to mention it. I've got one or two questions to you. What would you suggest to innovative European companies that look for technology or innovation cooperation partners from Europe to cooperate with Chile?
Excellent. Well, thank you, Rob. There are different fields of where we can start cooperation. Of course, first we will need to contact us at Invest Chile. We can guide the companies to different. That artificial intelligence is becoming very, very strong in our country. we are aiming to become a real reference in Latin America. There are few Latin American countries that have a national policy on AI. So that together with our digital infrastructure, having 5G in the country this year is also an enabler to have these European companies related with digital services and digital solutions to allow them to grow from Chile their solutions. So I'll say right now, what we call the advanced digital technologies have huge potential in our country. These are AI, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain, and some other key technologies also will have great potential for corporations here.
Thank you. And second and last question, what is in your point of view, since I raised this question to the previous speaker, cooperating with Europe, what is the benefit or added value for Chile compared to cooperation with the United States, China, or other major SDI countries?
Well, we have a large history of cooperation with Europe. For example, another key area in Chile that has been developed together with Europe and other entities is astronomy. Chile right now is a powerhouse in astronomy. Nearly 50% of the total observation capacity of the world is located in Chile with observatories. One of them is with ESO, the European Southern Observatory, that has operations here in the north of Chile. Also with the project ALMA, the Atacama Large Perimeter Array, where Europe has a strong presence in this project. So we do have a strong presence of cooperations with Europe in these more scientific fields. And Chile now is moving towards being an exporter of only commodities or fruits or food to start exporting also services and hopefully science from our country to the world. So we expect more cooperations, more in the science-related areas.
Thank you very much. We have to continue due to the remaining time. Thank you for your presentation. We now go on to Uruguay, Mr. Flavio Caiafa. I hope you have pronounced your name correctly. He's president at the Uruguayan National Agency of Research and Innovation. Please, the floor is yours.
I would like to do a brief introduction about what ANI is. ANI is the research and development and innovation agency from Uruguay. So I wanted to share with you what we are doing in the two main topics of this summit, which is this meeting, green transition and post-COVID measures. What I would present are the current instrument that we are a bit of a background on that, and the current instrument that we are developing, developing here in Uruguay in the innovation and entrepreneurship fields, which are the ones that I thought are most important or most relevant to the topic of this meeting. As I mentioned, in ANI we do both parts of the innovation or the development, research and development cycle. We do from advanced education, we fund research and development projects, we fund innovation projects for companies, and we also fund entrepreneurial projects or startups. As a bit of a background, two brief slides. The first one is we already went through a first wave of renewable energy in Uruguay. We started with a head start because historically more than 50% of our energy was powered by hydroelectric power from three main dams in the country. And in this first wave of renewable energies or more renewable energies, what we did was between 2010 and 2016, we invested with private investors $2.5 billion in the development of a more renewable infrastructure based mostly on wind power. So today we have 90% of our energy, excluding the excluding the transport sector, is renewable, and that is 50% hydroelectric, 38% in the wind power, and remaining other 10% in biomass and solar power, and only 3% non-renewable energies. That is for the household consumption and industry. It does not include transport. Regarding the COVID, the response to COVID, what we did, as many other innovation agencies, was a rapid response with measures, with the projects to try to help in the contention of the pandemic. Essentially, we did 5 major projects. 2 of them development COVID tests, PCR tests, and first, and then serologic tests, which help us to have a very to have direct control over the capacity to test in our country. And we also did some other projects. One was a project to design and develop ventilators very rapidly and for emergency use, which was a partial success because they were produced on time. However, the regulator on the health sector did not allow us to use those those ventilators in the health system. Sorry, I have an incoming call now. That's it. And we also did challenges on on applications and devices to help prevent the contagion of the virus and create projects to endure the quarantine. That was what we did last year. Let me now talk a little bit about what we are doing this year regarding the topics of the summit. The first, what we did starting this year is that we are applying to all our instrument, that is research, but mostly innovation and startups instrument, a triple impact analysis of the impact. That is, we always evaluated the projects based on the economic impact and the economic value generated. We continue doing that. That is it's a mandatory condition to approve a project. The fact that the project is economically sustainable after the support that we provide, but we also added the social and sustainability aspects in the evaluation, and we prioritize the projects that has, apart from economic value, social and sustainability impacts. This is something that we are applying across the whole agency. Continue. The other project that we are betting strongly this year and the next 2 years is this public procurement of innovative solutions, or functional procurement, essentially. This is a project inspired by the European policies of functional procurement. In this case, in particular, inspired by the legislation in Sweden. And essentially, it's a program to improve the quality and accessibility and also affordability of public services through innovation, not through traditional product procurement. Essentially, this project this is a big project with many components, but essentially there are 2 big things that we're doing. We're reaching out to public companies to try to convince, to show them that innovation is a very effective way to solve some of their public services issues and challenges. And so we are doing training sessions, workshops, and so on to provide incentives for these organizations that are not traditionally very innovative to innovate. On the other hand, we are working with them on trying to define the potential challenges that can be solved with the use of new technology or new scientific discoveries and new innovation. And this instrument has the goal of funding several challenges in this area. That is to solve public services challenges through innovation. We are trying. The goal in this project is quite, for the size of Uruguay, is quite challenging. We are trying to get as much as 100 proposals for innovative solutions, of which we are expecting to fund at least 6 or 7 and to execute those projects. There is one interesting thing about this whole program, which is Uruguay already has a law that enables this public procurement of innovative solutions, but that law has not been used due to lack of knowledge or lack of interest of the public companies. So what we are doing with this program is we're trying to show these public organizations how they can use that law and improve the services they provide through innovation. And also we think, we plan that it is a very interesting way of funding innovation projects and companies. Let me talk to you about another program we are launching this year as well. The first one is already launched. This is a program that is still not live, but will be live shortly, and also is very in tune with the subject of this meeting. It's called Resilience and Reactivation, and essentially it's a program focused on small and medium companies, on how to help them reactivate their activities after the pandemic. And we are doing that through 3 instruments. One is a research that we are developing, we are conducting right now on resilience and strategies that were successful during this pandemic for small and medium companies in selected economic sectors. Obviously, we are focusing initially on the sectors that were hit hardest, but not only on those of them. We want to learn also as well from other sectors that are doing great in this scenario. The other line of action is funding innovative projects to create solutions to improve that resilience. Essentially, it's we're getting the research, the first step, the research will give us some insights on what tools and solutions has helped other small and medium companies navigate through the pandemic, and we want to create solutions that can be adopted by a wider array of small and medium companies in doing that. And the third part is a promotion of the solutions that we develop with the help of innovative companies. So again, we're using the challenges aimed at innovation companies and innovative companies, and also startups that can develop these solutions to improve the resilience and help in the reactivation of the small and medium companies. And finally, this is a project that is not part of it's not a project led by ANI, but nonetheless, it's a project where we are heavily involved, and which is a company-wide, a country-wide project with the aim of paving the way for the second renewable energy wave. It starts with a funding from this Innovation Fund for Renewable Energy from the United Nations. It's a small fund. It's 11 million funds to support the country's second energy transition, via decarbonization of different sectors of the economy, mostly transport, which is the big sector which has not gone through an important decarbonization yet. The idea is that we will use this $11 million to leverage public and private funds and to fund a range of new and emerging renewable technology projects and initiatives. Essentially, what we are aiming at creating a fund of $60 to $70 million, which in terms of infrastructure is not very big, but that will enable us to do a lot of prototypes, research, scouting projects to help us define a clear way to execute the second wave of big infrastructure projects. And as I said, these funds and projects will hopefully be used to pave the way for a second transition, where we are expecting to hopefully build a few green hydrogen plants and continue using renewable energies, but in this case, focus on the transport sector and parts of the industrial sectors that are not yet.
Thank you very much, but we have to finish. Your presentation took much longer than expected. I'm sorry. So we should give your colleagues a chance to give their presentation. We might come back with a question to you. Thank you for your presentations and all the best. We will continue now with a presentation by Marco Garcia, the Austrian Commercial Counselor at Advantage Austria, which is the internationalization agency for Austrian companies at the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. A very nice afternoon. My name is Marco Garcia, and I'm the Commercial Counsel at the Austrian Embassy in Argentina, in Austria, better known as Wirtschaftsdelegierter, and I'm the head of Advantage Austria in Argentina. I'm going to talk about the current trade situation under COVID-19 and perspectives for Latin American countries, respectively. But first, let me give a short introduction who we are. I'm posted in Buenos Aires for about 4 years, and I have a Spanish name, as you can see, but I'm 100% Austrian. Advantage Austria is the internationalization agency for Austria, organized by the Federal Chamber of Commerce, in German better known as Wirtschaftskammer Österreich in Vienna. I'm supposed to focus only to 4 countries in Latin America: Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, and Uruguay. And in order to develop a strategy for Latin America, it's important to understand common misinterpretations about the region. I identified 4 crucial topics I want to point out. And as you can see, Europe is not Europe. This is a very common mistake when people are trying to do business in Europe. And Latin America is not Latin America. And to make a long story short, but I would like to draw the attention to the important fact that Latin America is not South America. South America is part of Latin America. And the crucial difference is that Mexico, as part of North America and Latin America, is a highly industrialized country, whereas South American countries are mostly commodity and agricultural driven. So this is mostly a very important detail for European companies to understand the strong difference. Second, South America is mostly disconnected from the value-added chain, from the Wertschöpfungskette of the industrial production. This is mostly caused by the agricultural focus what you have in South America. So most of the agricultural products are delivered to industrialized countries without processing beef. This fact makes it the remaining industry less competitive in the global markets, as they supply mostly domestic markets. In case of Mercosur, they're also supplying a regional market. And it attracts China, as they are hungry for natural resources. As China appears, you face strong competitors in infrastructure investments and also in machinery equipments. The third one is the logistic bottleneck. As there is no regional integration, only few countries have some international focus. Countries like, for example, Colombia and Chile, they have free trade agreements with several economic regions and also with the European Union. These are open economies with no regional orientation, with no South American orientation at all. So they are looking to develop market to the United States, Europe, and Asia. And then you have Mercosur countries like Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. And this is not a customs union, even though it was intended like 13 years ago. They still have customs duties within the country, and the free circulation of products, even in Mercosur, is not possible. So logistics is really a little bit a nightmare in Latin America. So you have to be very focused on the particular countries when doing business. And the last important thing, knowing about Latin America, it's very strong, focused on trade unions. So the strong focus on the working class society makes it very hard to set up a competitive industry, especially producing industry. So it's worth to invest in this region, but with the local rules and not with the global one. So one of the few strategies for this region is don't think regional. Just be focused to every single market and with their own characteristics, and take the import restriction of each market very seriously. And don't make the mistake, for example, to set up a business in a huge market like South America, like Brazil, and you can do it all South America out of Brazil. It won't work. Brazil is a huge market by its own. Now, what is the big advantages, the big treasures, let me say, from South America? First, the Mercosur region is one of the world's most fertile lands. If you take into consideration the strong population growth, the limited space and resources we have in industrialized countries, and the high demand and standards you get from these industrialized countries, Mercosur can be the answer to cover the growing gap in search of these natural resources. So Brazil and also Argentina is very strong in this. Colombia is very rich in biodiversity, and Chile and Brazil are the leading countries in the mining sector already. Their natural resources are already today an important factor in the industrial production in Europe. And then, as an important fact, you can't do business in South America and ignore Brazil. With more than 200 million inhabitants, it's almost half the size of the European Union. Brazil has an image problem these days, but still it is better to cooperate and build together a more sustainable future than criticizing a country. No? Now, coming to the current trade situation under COVID-19, we have to work a bit with numbers, but I will try to keep it as simple as possible because numbers don't give you a real idea about a good strategy. Anyway, here are 5 statements about the countries I should talk about. Brazil, by far the biggest country in South America, but at the same time, together with Colombia, one of the poorest when it comes to the income per capita. Being part of Mercosur, trading with Brazil is mostly focused on import substitution and supporting local production. This makes it very expensive to import processed products from Europe, as local production is highly protected by high customs tariffs and import barriers. But as I mentioned before, you can't ignore a 200 million market. So it's really worth to consider Brazil as an important market. Argentina, the country with the highest growth rate, but also with the highest inflation rate and with the highest import burdens together with Brazil. Additionally, Argentina doesn't pay its debts which is about $102 billion US for almost 2 years. They just try to avoid a default by continuously renegotiating these debts. So it's a really changing market because of the import burden, but at the same time, it's the second biggest economy in South America with about 44 million inhabitants. So also a market that you can't ignore. Colombia is very hard to describe because Colombia suffers a little bit from the past and is trying to find its place in Latin America. It's the 3rd biggest economy, as you can see, and market access. It's much easier in Colombia than, for example, in Brazil and in Argentina. So it's still a very important market with almost 50 million inhabitants. Very interesting, but as you can see, also the income per capita is not that important like in Argentina. When we come to Chile, you can see that Chile is a very promising country, maybe the most promising country of all these countries mentioned here, and it's very rich with the highest PIB per capita. So it's really worth to consider it. I recommend most of the European countries to focus on Chile, because if you achieve the market access successfully in Chile, you easily can do it also in Brazil and also in Argentina. As we're running out of time a little bit, I will just mention a few topics, a few words about the COVID-19 situation. This COVID-19 situation is very different. If you take countries like Chile and Uruguay, they are very advanced with the vaccination. So my theory is, these countries like Chile and Uruguay, they are vaccinating very fast and very efficiently. They will get out of the crisis very soon. Whereas countries like Brazil, Argentina, and also Colombia, where you can see on this chart, where the vaccination doesn't succeed that quickly, that efficiently as it's supposed to be, and let me say, the return to normality will take even longer. So my perspective is that Chile and Uruguay will be the countries that will open up very soon, maybe already in July, August. Countries like Argentina and Brazil will take at least until December or January next year until it gets back into normal business. Thank you for your attention, and thank you very much. I hope there will be some questions, and I will be available by my email address and by phone if there are some further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I would not like to be in a situation that we are kicked out technically at 5:30, so I would give the floor to our last speakers and then come back with a question to you. I'm sorry for that, but I think I do not have an impact on these technical restrictions.
No problem at all.
Many thanks for your understanding. Now I would like to give the floor to our last presenters from the EU-funded project ENRICH. ENRICH aims to bring European highly innovative SMEs to the forefront, and our colleagues from CTA, from the Technology Corporation of Andalusia will present this ENRICH project. You join us with 3 speakers, but it's up to you which one will present the Horizon 2020 project ENRICH.
Thank you so much, Ralph, and thank you to the organizers for inviting us into this very interesting conference. Okay, we will be sharing our presentation. My colleague Jose Diaz will be uploading the presentation. I will make a brief introduction of 4 or 5 slides highlighting the essentials of the ENRICH program. And afterwards, Jose will be focusing on the most relevant outcomes of the ex-post analysis of this program. Okay, we are going to make a brief overview of this project, the rationale, the scope and goals, and the impact. I will be briefly touching on the context, and also I will try to highlight the essentials of the ENRICH project in a nutshell. And later on, Jose Diaz and Marta, should be the case, will add some remarks and comments on the project results, and specifically in the frame of EU-Latin America countries cooperations. Next slide, Jose, please. The ENRICH project stems from 2 key facts early detected by the European Commission. One is the declining role of participation from worldwide countries in the European RTDI programs. Maybe this is a complex issue, partly due to lack of appropriate instruments, and also the discard of some other instruments that in the past were useful, like the INCO program or so forth. So this is a first key aspect to be taken into consideration. Next slide, please, Jose. The other one is once again the lack of appropriate instruments for innovative SMEs, I mean abroad, having a clear internalization willingness and potential right from the start, and thinking globally in their business model development. That's why the European Commission conceived this instrument, trying to put together an instrument facilitating the international outreach of SMEs in a win-win scheme, including co-creation with local counterparts in third parties, in third countries abroad. Next slide, please, Jose. In this sense, a consortium made up of 11 partners, 7 of them national funding bodies, some other consultancies, innovation-related partnerships or interfaces, devised a new instrument named Viability Assessment Project, which in the end is a very flexible toolkit, both of technical activities and market study and marketing penetration related ones, to be picked out ad lib by the beneficiary SMEs. We were aware that the situation abroad would be very different, and maybe in some countries, technical market activities would preempt over purely commercial one, and conversely, in some other countries, the latter could be more important. So we allow for this kind of flexibility, whilst asking for a minimum number of technical activities and a minimum number of economic or marketing ones. Next slide, Jose. In this sense, the Innovate financial instrument was conceived as a lump sum scheme one, to facilitate the economic implementation of the project, and eliminating as much as possible paperwork and micromanagement, so that should the outcome of the project would be acceptable, there would be no detailed financial and technical scrutiny. The only technical provision is being made on the basis of successfully submitted deliverables in full alignment with the initially approved work plan. Lump sum must get up to 60,000 euro, or alternatively 70% of minimum eligible cost, should the final accepted budget would be less than 86,000 euros. 2 calls have been launched, as I told you, with a view to promote and fund the definition stage of innovative business models based on entrepreneurship, based on technology, based on international outreach, and also with a clear win-win component with co-creation featuring on the top. Next slide, Jose. Maybe now is your turn. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Carlos. Now I will continue the presentation by talking about some of the results obtained so far. Between the 2 calls, 976 proposals were received, and after the selection process, 120 of them were funded. Around 30% of the proposal, the main contact are female, and around 15% are startups. And as we will see below, the target countries with the highest number of projects are USA, India, and Brazil. Here we can see the distribution of the number of projects by region. Asia and LAC are the are in the lead with 34 projects each, followed by North America with 31 projects. On the other hand, we can see that Africa and Oceania have less than a half of the projects, with 14 and 7 projects each. If we focus on the LAC region, there are 15 projects in the first call and 19 in the second one. I would like to remind you that the main objectives of these projects are to improve markets, to bring in new technologies or products or services, and to improve them. Well, from the data of the first call, we can see the following budget distribution. Although a large part goes to personnel, 1/3 of the budget is spent on subcontracting. And taking into account the graph on the right, where we can see how the total expenditure of the project is between 100,000 euros and 300,000 euros, except for certain countries with a higher number of projects, such as the USA, India, and Brazil, as I mentioned before. Well, focusing now on the subcontracting part of the budget, in the first graph, we can see the amount of money spent on subcontracting in the countries in the LAC region versus the rest of the countries. The LAC region will have more than 400,000 euros. This amounts to almost 28,000 euros per project. On the other hand, we can see the most wanted market areas for the LAC region. In the first place will be the energy with 5 projects. In second place, agriculture and environment with 4 projects. And the rest of the area with 1 or 2 projects. Finally, the distribution of projects by LAC countries in the 2 calls. We can see that Brazil is the country with the highest number of projects, 9 projects, followed by Chile with 6 projects, Colombia with 5, and Mexico with 4. We can also see how countries such as Panama, Argentina, and Guatemala have been beneficiaries thanks to the second call projects. In summary, EUREKA could become a very relevant instrument to support SMEs internationalization. There has been a large participation of SMEs. More small than medium enterprise have applied. LAC is selected as a target region for 29% of funded BAPs, and where more than 428,000 euros are spent on subcontracting. Brazil, Colombia, Chile, and Mexico have been the most relevant target countries in LAC. And energy and agriculture and environment have been the most relevant target market in LAC. Well, that is from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation about the ENRICH project and what it offered for cooperation with countries in Latin America. Unfortunately, we are way over the session time, and I ask for your understanding that we have to close without a wrap up of this session. I thank the presenters for their time and their commitment to the session, and the investments in the preparation for their presentation. Thank you also to the audience for holding out as long as you did. For my part, I would like to close with these words, but I would like to hand over to Bernhard Windischbauer, the main organizer of this session, who invested a lot of time, efforts, energy in preparation of this workshop in the last weeks, even months. So Bernhard, the last words are yours. Thank you for your work.
Thank you very much, and apologies for not addressing questions to all speakers. However, we will be in touch. As far as I saw from the presentations, there is a big potential, also interest from the European side as well, as we saw from the latest presentation, and hopefully the WAP scheme will continue in the next years as well, so that we can really promote it on both sides and increase collaboration, and ENRICH and LAC will certainly support this, so to say, matchmaking and bringing the parties together. Thank you very much for your time and for your dedication and answering to my endless emails, and I hope we will be in touch in the next days and months. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye from Vienna.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much.